Doubles and coffee. It's very interesting for someone like me who understands the process of budgeting and media review and so on to listen to the PNM trying to question their own documentation, their own media review, because the government under Kamala Persad-Visesa, having just come in 6 weeks ago, there was not sufficient time to get into the budgetary process to assess what was the state of the treasury and the votes in every ministry, and then have the budget division of the Ministry of Finance go to all 23, 24 ministries and have discussions and make allocations in an intelligent way in order to move forward the policy of Kamala Persad-Visesa. So what is basically taking place is a PNM allocated, completed media review based on the PNM Minister of Finance, Colman Butt, and the PNM ministries and policies coming forward, because the PNM had budgeted, the PNM had overspent, the PNM had under-allocated, and the PNM left deficits across the board, because Colman Butt, as Minister of Finance's main game was to pretend to you that he was doing a good job and that the deficit that he was budgeting for was actually smaller than it was. That is why there's an issue with the Auditor General and the inflated revenue that they could not find documentation for, because Colman Butt wanted to present a picture that the deficit was smaller, so that the credit ratings that had already been decimated by him as Minister of Finance, getting it in 2015 September at AAA plus and mashing it down to BBB minus, and we are probably going to a BBC rating, thinking like we were some sort of news agency from the United Kingdom. But in between that, what Colman Butt did would, when a credit rating agency was giving him the correct grade, which was a low grade, a junk bond grade, he changed credit rating agencies, and they would artificially inflate so that he could borrow and spend and increase the debt to GDP ratio and decimate our country and our economy further. But it was interesting to see PNM at the Standing Finance Committee questioning UNC ministers about PNM figures. So desperate was it, so ridiculous, that Gadsby Dolly, the worst Minister of Education in history, who had overseen not only the failure of our children at SCA, CSEC, CAPE, across the board, but also that our schools had gone into a state of disrepair, that our Honorable Minister of Education, the Honorable Dowlat, has a headache to try and decide which schools are more desperately in need of rehabilitative work than others, because really and truly he may need $2 billion to fix up all them schools, because Gadsby Dolly did nothing. She was spending her time walking up and down those stairs, going to a red couch, fostering good relations within the cabinet. That's what Gadsby Dolly did, and she's sitting down there questioning the UNC about allocations of funding to repair the children's schools. Then you had the greatest. I don't know if you all understand how bad a political tabanka is. And when a political tabanka is added to abject stupidity, a lack of education, and to a total blithering idiot who is a bully, you can see it manifest itself before your eyes in the parliament. Could you believe that Stuart Richard Young, the selected Prime Minister for one day, saw it fit in his mind, in his space between his ears, to go in the parliament once again and invoke some sort of attack involving sexual actions, double palm, triple palm, and so on, in the parliament, live on TV, with the microphone on, trying to continue the Zammie talk that he became infamous for, that his Speaker of the House, the blue hair lady, who never talked down to PNM, had to say that it was the most vile thing she had ever heard in the precincts of the parliament, to hear Stuart Smallpin Young talking about Kamala Prasad Bisesa and other women going into the bathroom to Zammie. But the Zammie-Man did not learn from that rebuke. The Zammie-Man did not learn from ridicule. The Zammie-Man did not learn from an obliteration at the polls, a landslide loss. He did not learn. He come back in the parliament in a standing finance committee. And when Ravi Ratiram destroyed him simply on a question about agriculture, his only comeback, he reached far into the recesses of his tiny little brain, and the only lyrics he could come back with was that money allocated for any sort of importation of palm, double palm, triple palm. Stuart Richard Young, whatever little shame you have, whatever little pride you have in your family name, do your family a big favor. And when you're in parliament, shut your mouth, boy. Boy, I don't know, Richard Young, this man is just disgracing his grandparents, his father, his mother, his children. Listen, and far less for the PNM, Penelope Beckers, was that your high quality contribution? That is your PNM. You said that your PNM quality is better than the UNC quantity in the parliament. Is that your quality? The Zammie-Man talking about double palm in a standing finance committee when the PNM has decimated the economy, and Kamala Prasad Bisesa, Dave Tanko, and the UNC have to scrape, find, and use all of our combined intellects to pull the economy out of a hole created by your PNM and your core member? Is that your quality? Double palm and Zammie-Man in parliament? On top of talking about quality, Penelope Beckers, you haven't contributed. Are you the leader of the PNM? Key bills being debated and you sit down there quiet. Then when Imba talking, your chair empty, you had things to do? Well, go and do your things. But don't come here to talk about the PNM quality. Who is your quality? Marvin Gonzalez, Marvelous Marva, is your chief whip, the head of your government, the head of your opposition response in the parliament. Call Imba the worst minister of finance in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, who has been found wanting, could not account, the Auditor General could not form an opinion on the accounts that he was in charge of for 2 straight years, who embarrassed himself. The Privy Council laughed and asked why he wasn't in investigation. That is your dream team. Keith Scotland, who take the braids out his head and is a lawyer who cannot talk in parliament. A man who tells people that he a coal pot and he ride a bike, and next thing he's seen in his fancy Range Rover SUV filling up gas. Who is your dream team? Gadsby Dolly, the worst minister of education in history, bar none. School violence is the only thing that increased under her. Children left school in droves. No laptops, no social workers, no guidance counselors, no school maintenance, no pan in schools, school teachers disrespected, no negotiation. Who else is on your team? Dino Brigger, well, he couldn't even get in Fatima without his father giving him, put him on a 20% list. That's your best. That's your quality. That's why PNM is where it is, and that's why PNM will stay right there. The UNC has qualified specialists, surgeons, lawyers, professors, doctors, environmental engineers, coaches, sports, professors, businessmen, businesswomen. The UNC is packed with intelligence here to run this country. You look around, girl. You are swimming in a quagmire of stupidity. Your topper is the Zammie-Man, Stuart Richard Young, who political tabanka does not allow him to know propriety, discipline. People are watching. A cocktail has not even reset him. He's still the arrogant bully who bullied Imran in CIC. That's your PNM. That's why it's 10, 15, 20 years. PNM, all you better somebody form a new party. Somebody who would like PNM, form a new brand party and formalize a constitution and respect it and get people to move on. The PNM is dead, Penny, and you kill it. A penny for your thoughts.